Welcome to Shooting the Shift with Marilyn and Elizabeth. These light warriors, both native New Yorkers, walk their walk, talk their talk, and keep the real in the deal. This dynamic duo joined forces to assist you through your transformational journey one step at a time, empowering you with spiritual tools you can use in your daily life. Each show begins as a conversation creating an opening for spiritual connection. There are never any scripts, and Spirit is always illuminating the way. And that's when the shift hits the fan. The magical messages of the ancestors, spirit guides, and Gaia are respected, honored, and always given sacred space to communicate. Join Marilyn and Elizabeth as they shake shift up and do what they do best, speak from their hearts.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, Miss Marilyn. I'm Miss Elizabeth. Yeah. Well, we have a lot going on today, I have to say, because our topic today is we've been covering a lot of things about, cleaning stuff out, boundaries, all that kind of stuff. But today we're talking about your story, your new story, what we're creating. And I think it's kind of exciting because we have that new moon in Aries on Friday. It's one of our most powerful new moons. And Aries is the initiator and the warrior. And it's time to be brave and kind of charge forward. Like the person holding that Olympic torch, leading the way. It's also about leadership. And it's a great time for manifesting if you're really determined and you have some tenacity. The energy's really supportive for that. So I'm really looking forward to that new moon.
Yeah, right? Moving things, shifting,
Yeah,
taking a closer
yeah,
look, right?
yeah. And speaking of shifting, I have to say, Miss Marilyn helped me shift some stuff yesterday and held some sacred space for me. And I'm so grateful to you because it's really important that we have somebody that we can trust, that we know will hold the space for us and where we can be vulnerable and be safe, even with maybe things we've never shared with anyone before. And you did that for me yesterday. And I'm so grateful because I feel so much better today inside, and you really helped me get to the next step. And that's really what our show's about, right? Getting to the next step, empowering ourselves because it's a process. It's not a destination. So thank you, my friend.
Oh, always, right? Always. This brings me joy, right? When I'm able to be able to have sacred space, together and hold sacred space for another, right? As they transmute stuff, right? It's so important sometimes. We don't realize how would I say, the baggage that we hold sometimes. And it's so important to
Yes.
recognize that we are carrying a load, and sometimes we have to be able to put it down and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe just not pick it back up, right? It's so important. And it's learning to, to just sit together and allow yourself to be heard and for
Yep.
you to process what it is that needs to be processed so that you can, just continue in a more, how would I say, a more sacred way for you.
And empowered. I mean, you made me feel
Yeah.
very empowered. You made me feel like I could do this. Earlier you and I were talking, and I shared the analogy with you. I mean, this is the second to last day of March, so we're heading into April, right around the corner. And I said, April can be a very chaotic month. There's a lot, chaos brings change. But also, I use the analogy, of the boil, like having the boil and needing to lance it and getting that yellow stuff out so that it can heal. And that, I think, there's a lot of things, especially with Neptune right now, coming to the surface that none of us want to see, right? And it's like you said, sometimes you've got like it's like, well, you've got this piece of ketchup right there on your cheek. Do you not see it? And it's like it's been there for so long, it's a little dry. You don't even see it anymore. But everybody else can see it. And when you're willing to go look a little closer, when somebody maybe helps you to that next layer, and you go, oh, we don't see it. We get so comfortable with our own stuff. And
Well,
it's
because you
only the
normalize it,
rising.
right? You
Yeah.
normalize it, right?
Yes. You
And this
get
is what
comfortable with
happens.
it.
Yeah, it's like a pain, right? When you have a pain or an ache in the body and you just don't tend to it and you don't take care of yourself within that energetically, right? That pain will either go away or it won't. It could just continue to become more powerful in your body and create, other
Fester.
situations, right? Yeah, where that become even more painful. But then you get so comfortable with that it's like it's normal for
It's
you, but it
like
really
that's
isn't normal for
that's why
you.
it's a boil, baby, because it's
Yeah,
there and it's like eruption is coming. There's
right,
no denying it. We're ready to explode
right.
and
So
release. We probably
so
want
it's
people to call us, huh?
yeah. Call
Yeah.
us at
So
202 202 570 7057. Call us if you want to talk about, whatever it is that maybe you're curious about, or maybe you want information on why you're feeling the way you're feeling, or whatever. It doesn't really matter. Just call us if you
yeah,
feel inclined
we're
to.
easy
And
peasy. We want to talk to
yeah,
you.
and it's two zero
We want to
two
help you.
570 7057.
Yes, we
Yeah,
all
so
need help. We
yeah,
all
and so
need
I'm
outside perspective. Sorry, Marilyn, you go right
no,
ahead,
that's
darling. I'll
okay.
be quiet.
That's all right. Right? So it's embracing and empowering our story to move forward. So this is what we're doing today, right? It's about embracing and empowering our story to move forward. And so we're going to
That's
be
the.
doing that, right? We're going to
That's
be
right.
working on that. And if that's something that you feel that you really want to, we're going to do it on on the show. But if we have
I
someone
love
call,
that.
we can do it
Yes.
for you, and we can
Yes, we
actually
can
show
help
others
you.
how,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes. Yes.
how this gets done, right?
Somebody
Because
out
it
there be brave and call in because you're anonymous and it's a safe place with us and we want to
yes,
help you. And this is the time to be brave and just think, stretch yourself a tiny bit.
yeah. And so it's about, so when we're talking about this embracing and empowering our story to move forward, is being able to recognize the story that you're holding in your energy
Yeah,
field, right? In your mind, in your heart, in your energy field. I mean, this is what happens. We hold a story, and then this story gets told over and over and over and over again. And so what happens is that the more we speak on this story, the more we give it power, because remember, we're feeding it because we give so
that's
much
right.
focus and attention to it. So
Yep.
the issue is that I see here is that if there's a story that you keep repeating over and over and over again, but you still, I mean, I've heard this before where people are saying the same thing over and over again, and then they say, but I've let that go, but I've let that go. And I go, well, you haven't let it go because you're still speaking about it. So the energy is still vibrating in you. The energy is still living, right? And the more that you speak on it, the more power you give to it and the more it grows, right? So this is important because we tend to sometimes not be as mindful of what we speak upon. So I always try to be very mindful of what I'm saying and how I'm saying it, because what happens is that if I bring in an old story, like, I could be talking and all of a sudden an old story comes in and I'm like, ah, wow, that thing is still, that issue still an issue for me. And I didn't recognize it until I spoke about it, right? Because it impacted me in one way or another, right? So I can't at the same time say, well, I have forgiven that, or I no longer, have resentment over that, or I no longer feel this particular way about that. If you're speaking about it, it's got power and it's got a space in your energetic field. And it's important to recognize that and to work with that energy to move it, to break it down, to dismantle it, right? To create the discharge of that so that there is no longer a charge to it in the
Right.
body.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you're so funny because I today on our social media I posted when the shift hits the fan, we got a plan, but we always say we don't have a plan, so that's kind of confusing. But our our only plan is to get things moving and shifting in the right direction. That's empowering and uplifting and helping us have a breakthrough. And
Yeah,
you
and the
know,
plan is talking about it, right?
it is talking about it.
When something presents itself, then we speak upon it. Because when we're able to speak upon it, we're able to break it down. And when we're able to break it down, then we recognize the energy that it holds. And we decide at that point whether we want to continue to hold this energy or to just release it and let it go, right? The
Yep.
energy stays because we hold it. The energy is, wants to move about as much as it needs to, right? But what happens is that we corner it and we hold it down, right? And we just keep it at bay. We go, no, 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 you can't move from here, right? So it's important sometimes to take a good look. Let's take a
Yeah.
good look at
I
what it
mean,
is.
sometimes you can see somebody and they're like, I can't move. My feet are gorilla glued to this spot and I literally can't move. I can't go. I'm here. And you can see all you have to do is reach out your hand, give them a little tug. They have to be willing to do the shifting forward and take the help. But, you know, it's so obvious to you that they can move, but they are so certain that it's not possible. And the only thing that is certain is if you believe that you can't, then you won't. If you give yourself a try, if you're willing to try, then you will. That's it. I mean, it's so simple.
Yeah. Yeah. And it starts with learning to love ourselves unconditionally. It really
And
begins
isn't that an
there.
ongoing process for
Yeah. And
I
this,
mean,
yeah, we're
yeah.
doing this constantly because it's, we're, and I can't speak for everyone, right? I
Oh,
can't speak for everyone, but most, most of my life, it was all about everybody else, right? It was,
me too.
I was
Yeah.
like, everybody was the center, and I was just, out trying to just fix things and make things right and, make everybody comfortable and happy and all this good stuff. And I never regret that because I still love doing that. I still love it. I just do it differently
You
now.
still do it. Yeah, and just
Yeah,
in a
I
different
just
way. I
do
was
it
just going to say,
differently.
you
I just
still
do it
do all
differently.
that.
Yeah, because what
Yeah.
I do is I
With the
honor me
self-love
first.
element. Yes.
Yes, I
Yes.
learned to
Mhm.
love myself
Yep.
unconditionally. And that was a
Mhm.
tough road, right? Because, there's always that internal language that we
Yep.
have going around, going, what do
Yep.
you think? What do you think? Who do you think you are? What are you taking up all this space? La, 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 la,
Yep.
la, la, la. And then
I've been
normally what
working on that.
happens,
Yeah.
yeah,
Go
and it's
ahead.
important to recognize that when that internal language comes up, the sooner we can zap it, right?
Mhm.
The less mic time it has, right? The less mic
Yeah,
time it
that's
has, and
exactly
the
what I
less
was going
time
to
it
say.
has, right? The
Yep.
energy then can't live long enough or thrive in you anymore because you're not
Right.
giving it a platform and you're not giving it
That's right.
space.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, the first 5 years, I think my journey really started about 15 years ago, where I was like literally um, trying to replace what was in my mind, even if I didn't believe it. So as soon as I had that negative thought or that, I went to Louise Hay every day, all day. All is well. Everything's working out for my highest good. Out of the situation, only good will come, and I am safe. And I said that to myself so many times that I knew it by heart, and it became a habit. Every time I heard the itty bitty shitty committee, I would just overcrowd it with that. And it's a process. Now I really
Yeah.
don't have too much of that going on in my head. I'm not saying that I don't have things that I need to change the way I think about, but that constant the ticker tape parade, na na na
Mm-hmm.
na na, na,
Mm-hmm.
it was so out of control. And so baby steps, constant, walking up the hill. Um, that
Yeah,
was a biggie
sometimes
for me.
people have the self-judgment piece, right? Where,
Oh, yeah.
they can't get anything right no matter what they do,
Yeah.
or somebody's always, doing something to them, and I
Mm-hmm.
understand all of this because I've been through all of that, right?
Yep.
When I speak on things, I also speak because this is part of my path, right? Part of what I had to, how would I say, uncover, right? In order to be able to see the truth. I couldn't see the truth if I was too busy, pointing the finger out there. It's you or it's not me. And then
Right.
until the point where I got and I said, wait a minute, it is me. It is me, I
Right. It is me.
had, it
And
is
then when you
me.
get to the point you realize that everything is you.
Yeah,
Everything is
because
you.
yeah, because let's think about this. It's also has a lot to do with not creating clear boundaries, right? Because when we don't have clear boundaries, then what we're doing is, of course, we're pointing the finger outward because somebody didn't do something that we expected them to do because, well, that's our expectation. Yeah, but we didn't even put it out there to say, this is a boundary. You can't cross this, or, this is
Yeah.
unacceptable. These are things that are important for us to recognize that it's a part of, recognizing our own energy in things, right? And based on our belief system, the current belief system that we have, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we're always evolving and changing.
And that's where the release comes. As soon as you break free from one little thing, another little thing shows up. So, be it a way forward, be it a new thinking, whatever it is, it always brings. That's the way Earth School works. You can't have rain without the sun. There's the duality. There's always something that's going to come in. So we got to go out for a minute, but we're going to come back in a minute because we're going to take our first break. And we're going to talk about dream engineering a new story for yourself in the month of April. Stay tuned.
Bringing a more conscious lifestyle to your world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Being a radio host on IOM FM allows you to build your show on a rich platform with the power of the internet to fulfill your outreach goals and connect with a very specialized and global online audience, unlimited by time and distance. OMTimes Radio will provide you with web relevance, a recognizable conscious brand, and with the standard of excellence that has accompanied every single OMTimes endeavor. Host your show with OMTimes Radio Network.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
So I'm a cat, and I just moved in with this new human, and she's got this little toy she's always playing with, all day long. Tap, 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 bloop, bloop. She can't put it down. There it is. Oh, and get this. She even talks to it. Last week, she asked it for Chinese, and guess what? Egg rolls showed up. Like magic. Humans have cool toys.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
Welcome back to Shooting the Shift. Our number is 202-570-7057. And today we're discussing our new story moving forward. And there's not a better month than April with that new moon in Aries and the Aries season coming in. The initiator, being brave, being courageous. I've done a little piece of artwork that I haven't put out there yet. It's like, the gal with the little wings, and then she's strapping on the big wings like a backpack because she needs the big wings, but her wings aren't big enough just yet. That's kind of how Aries is right now. And when we went to the the commercial there, I was saying, dream engineering a new future for yourself. And some of this takes being brave and taking some risks. This is the month to do it. The energy is really supporting that. And I would say one of the best things you could do is write on a blank piece of paper what's the best thing that could happen. And then just put it
Yeah.
up somewhere and add to it. Put it on your refrigerator or in your diary. Because, well, I grew up in a family, Marilyn. Oh, what's the worst thing that could happen? That kind of Debbie
Yeah.
Downer, wah, wah. And so we never say, what's the best thing that could happen? This is a great month to do a vision board or just a cork board and pen up every single thing you love because it's going to lead to breadcrumbs. One inspiration is going to lead to the next. This is energy that is charging you forward. So it's like you take one step and the universe takes a giant step with you. That's the energy here.
Yeah. I
And I
think,
can't stress that enough.
yeah, I think for April it's going to be for many it's going to be a great release, right? Because what's going to happen is it's almost
Yes.
like the floodgates open up. And it's
Glancing that
almost like,
oil.
yeah. And so what we want to do is we want to be able to allow, the current, right, of that's moving, that wants to, surface so that it can continue to rise out and do what it needs to do, right? And not be stuck in us. So it's important for us to be mindful of how it is that we tell our story, right? So if we're mindful, that means that we're paying attention to the words that we're using, that we're paying attention to
Yes.
how we are expressing ourselves in the world, because this
Or the
makes a
actions we're
difference.
taking.
Yeah, because it
Yes.
makes a difference. Because if I choose words that are very powerful and positive, then I'm moving in that momentum. And if I choose words that are diminishing, my power and my abilities, then it's going to lower my momentum. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to be able to be as authentic, as I would like to be, simply because my words, right, have the energy and the power, right, to keep me up or down. It's so
Yeah.
important for us to recognize that that's how we feel and think at times too, right? If we pay attention to how we're feeling, we're not feeling so good. Well, let's take a look at why we're not feeling so good. Are we doing something that we're not happy doing? Oh, what are we doing to change that? What are we doing to change how we feel? Because sometimes, you might even have a job that you say, oh my God, I hate this job. I wish I could have something else. I hate going there. I hate going to the office. I don't like the people there, whatever it is that you got going on. But it's important for you to recognize, in this moment, I recognize that I'm in a job that I'm not the happiest in. And so now what I have to do is to say, okay, I recognize that. I recognize that as my truth. I am not happy in this particular place. So now what is important for you to do is to find something really good. Find it because it's there. Find something really good in the job, right? That you can take a look at and every day focus on that. Like maybe focus on one
Yes.
of your coworkers who maybe has something beautiful happening in her life or whatever it could be, right? That it starts to
Yeah.
shift and start to look for the good stuff and start trying to not focus on all the negativity. If you pray, then pray into that space on your way to
Yeah.
work, right? Because that also shifts the energy in the room, in the space, and sometimes people maybe aren't as positive. I do have to say, the last job I had, oh my God, I loved it. I just loved it because everybody was so kind and loving, and they were so intuitive. They really, whenever they needed, advice or whatever it was. They tuned in, they asked for, information if that was necessary. You know what I mean? These are the things that we do when we provide a healthy space. When you have people who, I mean, my boss was so wonderful because she was so open to all of this as well, right? And so we all worked in a space where we learned to work around all the crazy stuff from that was sometimes coming in, right? Sometimes it's the home life, or sometimes it's people who are above you, who are just like making you crazy or whatever,
Do
but
you
you
want to tell
learn how to
people what you
manage
used to
that.
do, Marilyn?
Huh?
Do you want to tell people what you used to do? Just clue them in quickly.
Well,
Or at
jobs.
least
The
which one you're
last one,
talking about? Yes.
yeah. So I worked in a department, in a speech department at a hospital, and the women there were just like, a lot of people say, "Oh my God, working with women is really rough and tough." And I got to tell you, it was a blessing. They were all
That's
so
wonderful.
beautiful. They were beautiful, beautiful people, and like we all had a story, right? And it was so beautiful that we were able to share that story, and we were able to have, like even once a month we did, meditations, where we talked about stuff and we cleared the air and all this kind of stuff. And these things are it's amazing to be able to do these things in a workplace, right? Because you can
Mm-hmm.
bring the peace in, right?
Mm-hmm.
When things from the outside were making things crazy, we were able to bring peace in the space, and everybody was able to then go off and, right, be in that beautiful, loving, peaceful place, right, as they met
Mm-hmm.
all their
But you're
patients,
also,
which was
yeah, you were holding
beautiful.
the space for everyone else too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you had
Beautiful.
parents that were overwhelmed and having a lot of, I mean, they were overwhelmed. Their kids were having some serious stuff going on. And I was
Mm.
able to hold sacred space for them. I was able to listen to them. I heard them. And they felt heard and they felt loved. And and this is important because we each play a role. And we might say, "Oh, I answered a phone." No, it's not just about answering the phone. It's how you answer the phone. It's how you meet and greet these people and how you pour the love into them when you see that they are needing it so badly, right? These are the things that we want
Yes.
to do in our lives, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, I want to create as much good karma as I possibly can. That's my
yeah,
goal now.
yeah.
I've decided. What's the best thing could happen, and how can I create the best karma all way round? There
Yeah.
is one thing I did want to touch on that I didn't mention, and it doesn't matter if you like astrology or not. It's just the Jupiter Neptune conjunction, and I just want to say Jupiter's my ruling planet, and it's important too with this Aries energy because there's a lot of things coming to light that are not seen, and that's part of that chaos we were talking about. But also, Jupiter, this is a huge thing it's playing out right now. Jupiter's the planet of expansion. And people think, oh, it's good luck. It's going to make everything fabulous. You're going to, step in unicorn poo and everything's going to be magical. It's not that Jupiter isn't benevolent. It is the planet of good fortune. And that's why Saggies, like myself, tend to luck out sometimes. I set it up pretty cushy for myself. But the point I'm trying to make is that expansion works negative too. So you want to be real careful on where you're focusing, right? And if it's
Yes.
on your highest best. And that's why I use the term dream engineering, because this is really a time where you can, like you said, be present, be focused, be mindful. This morning I got up and I went out to my backyard, which is so beautiful. Bless the soul that planted all the lavender trees. I mean, the lilac trees. And I went out and I watched the sunrise and I grounded and I just watched the sun come up. And it wasn't a spectacular sunrise, but it was a little cloudy. But the best thing was, I know I got a message from my great grandmother and I had birds talking to me and I set my intention for the day. Like, how do I want to feel and what do I want to connect to? And for me, being mindful is really important that I set the intention. It's just like brushing your teeth. When you decide to put it in the calendar, self love, self care, and set your intentions. How do I want to feel? Set that at the beginning of the day. Some people are night owls. I'm not one. I'm a morning person. So I try and get it all in. And then at the end, I know you'll appreciate this, Marilyn. I always do a gold sun above me, and I put a magnet of me, and I pull back all my energy, and then I pop it and put it in all my chakras. But today I did gladiolas, freesias, lily of the valley, lilies, all the fragrant flowers, right? And I filled that whole bubble, and I filled my whole body and my aura with every single thing that was blossoming and fragrant and
Beautiful.
like new baby microflowers that were just going to multiply. And I just felt so darn good.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful, right?
It
It's
was
like
wonderful.
it's like a bath of flowers.
A bath of growth and beginnings and softness and
Yeah,
fragrant and promising. I mean, that's what spring is, all of those things. And that's what
yeah,
Aries is. So what you focus on, you are, mastering your own journey here. We all are. And
yeah.
so that's how I decided to start my day. Now, can I promise I'm going to do that every day in April? No, I can't, but I'm going to do something every morning to set my intention and, be right in my heart
Yeah,
because I want
setting
to
your
know,
intention
okay,
is important,
check
right?
in, check in. What does
Yeah.
my heart want today?
So checking your
What is that?
intentions is important, right? Because when you're
Yes.
when you're able to set the intentions in the beginning of the day, right?
Hmm. And it could be
Things start
one
to
for the day.
flow. Yeah,
You
and
don't have to
things
do
start to
50
flow in that
billion.
direction.
That's right.
Yeah, and so it
That's
starts to
right.
flow, right? It starts to
So
flow.
it's like
And we used
being the
to,
conductor, right? The conductor of
yeah,
the train versus sitting in the caboose. You're
yeah,
going to see what's coming. You're part of maneuvering.
yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I felt like, I felt like I had such a mouthful when you asked me
Oh,
no, I said when you asked me to,
what you did
speak
for
on the
your work.
job that, yeah, because I went
Yes.
like this. It's a mouthful, right? But
Yeah.
I work for the Westchester Institute for Human Development in Valhalla, and I was a scheduling coordinator for the speech and hearing department. And I give a shout out to all my sacred sisters there because that's a
Oh,
powerhouse. They are, I mean, the
dynamo.
love that radiates there is like, it's amazing,
Did you ever
right?
go
And
visit them? You sound
oh
like you miss them
yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
definitely. We have lunch sometimes. I mean, since COVID, we only had
I
lunch
love
once.
that. It's
But
hard. Yeah.
soon we'll be having, because the weather starts getting better, and then we can meet outside and we can have lunch, because we used to do our power walks too, and I miss that. But
Yeah.
it was an amazing place, and I really have to say that I loved it because I was loved, and I was honored and respected, and I was cared for. And that means
Yes.
more to a human being, right? It just means so much more
That's
to
what you
be
did for me
someplace.
yesterday.
Yeah, and doesn't it mean it just feels so good to
Yes.
have that coming back at you, right? When you put it out and then you get that stuff back, it feels so good. And this is what
Oh, I
this
want to
is
talk about that for a second. I want to talk about that for a second because you said when you give it out and then you get it back. I spent so much of my time not receiving and so much of my time giving and taking stuff on from other people, right? And I think it takes a long time to realize that you it's not negotiable, right? I mean, that's just been my light bulb moments and that's what I'm talking about with this Neptune revealing things to you that you see in a new way. And it's meant to get you to that next focus of, well, how can I empower myself? And that
yeah.
was part of what happened yesterday was, yeah, I don't have to take on everything.
No. You
That
never
was a
had to.
huge light bulb. But
Yeah.
you see, because it
Yeah.
was the ketchup on my face that was dried up, and I'd been doing it so long. You just chop wood, haul water, endure, and then you burn out.
And you think that that's the way it's supposed to be. Because
Right?
you've
Work
been doing it
hard.
all your life that way, right? And so it's
Yeah.
important to recognize that. And the other thing is, when you're saying, I've spent my time giving, and never really receiving, I understand that. I get that because I did that for such a huge part of my life until I learned that when I do that, right, there's an imbalance because I'm always giving out. And then what happens to the other part of me that isn't receiving anything? We can't work that way. Then we're out of balance. That we're
No,
out of
and
balance.
And you know what else happens is when you start receiving, you want more because you realize how you're like the starving flower in the desert waiting for one little drop of rain. And then when you get a little rain, you go, ooh, my roots feel plumpy. Ooh, I forgot that. This feels kind of good. Maybe I'll have a little sprout next to me and grow a companion. But the more you receive and allow that, the better a giver you are. So
Yes.
it's reciprocal. It's one without the other. I mean, if you want to,
And you're in balance.
if you're a spiritual warrior out there or doing light work and helping others, it's the least selfish thing you can do because it's going to exponentially make you all the more better at being able to provide what people need, including you.
Yes. And what you need to receive as well, because the other thing is that, when we are desiring things, people, places, and things, right? When we're in that space, but we are always in the constant giving and never open to receiving, then the energy of that is locked and blocked. So
That's
it's almost
right.
like spirit is can't kind of deliver that, right? Can't deliver it because you're not open to receiving it. It's not that it's not there, it's waiting for you.
That's right.
It's right here waiting for you, but you have to be able to say, I am open to accepting. You can't be so closed
I am
down.
worthy.
Yes.
I am worthy. I am
Yes.
worthy.
I
I
am
could say
worthy.
that the whole show. I could literally say that for an hour.
Yes.
It'd be very
Yeah.
boring probably, but I am worthy. And we're going to have to go to our final break of the show. What's the best thing that could happen? Write it down, ruminate,
Yeah.
put it somewhere you can see it. Let those little blossoms blossom. We'll be right back.
Your conscious connection to a more mindful world. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Imagine yourself being transported to India, to the banks of the Ganga and an ashram in Rishikesh. Visualize that you are welcome to satsang with an American sannyasi who shares the wisdom of her guru. Your visualization has manifested. Join Sattvi Bhagawati Saraswati for inspiration and transformation every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern on OMTimes Radio.
Coping 19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With everything going on, there may be times you feel like you can't handle it all. Journaling, meditating, and talking with friends and family can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope. Your kids are also going through a lot of new experiences, and simply talking with them about their feelings can be quite powerful.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
Oh, welcome back. I got sidetracked there for a minute. Okay.
Taking
Yeah.
notes, swirling and twirling.
Yeah, because
I do want to say one thing before you get rocking and rolling, because I see you about ready to get rocking and rolling over there. I just see you doing it. So I just want to say again, I am drilling this in, but this energy with the Jupiter Neptune conjunction is so powerful with the Aries and winning against all odds, fortitude, great growth and potential. Don't be worried about letting that pimple come up and letting that stuff out of there. Don't push it down. You're going to get a clogged pore. You're going to have to deal with it again, and it's going to be even nastier and harder to get rid of because it's going to be more insidious. So be proactive. Be mindful, be the leader of your own journey. And really, now more than any other time in this year, I think it's so, so important. At least just write down what's the best thing that could happen. Write down 4 things that speak to your heart and focus on those. Because what you plant, what you be, you become. That's what Christopher says, Sensei Christopher. And it's so true. What you be, you become. And, I just want to drill that in because it is like even if you've done a vision board before, you go, oh, this mumbo jumbo, you know, just whatever speaks to you, write it down and inspire yourself because this is the time to light the match and see what that fire brings for you in your belly and your gumption.
right? Be the co-creator in your life because you
That's right.
are. We are
That's
all
right.
co-creating our lives through our thoughts and feelings and
So
because
now with
that's what
intention.
activates. Now you do
Yep.
it with intention and acknowledging that you are co-creating, right? So if you can acknowledge that, then you can set that intention to
Yep.
co-create what it is that you're wanting to experience in the world, right? So if you want to
Mm-hmm.
experience more love, then what do you need to do? You need to focus in on yourself and love yourself unconditionally. Therefore, you can love others unconditionally, right? It's important to love unconditionally because if we love with conditions, what is that's not really real, is it? You know what I mean? Like it's really not
No.
real. We're not really
No.
loving because we have a condition set in place that says if you do this or if you're this way, then I will love you, but I won't love
Right.
you if you don't. So that's not love. That's not love. That's just more like control, right?
Control
Or
and
how, yeah,
power. Yeah.
control
Power
over
trip.
another human being. So it's
Yeah.
important for us to recognize that that's not the kind of love that we're looking for. And that's not the kind of love that we want to be in the world. So if we're
Yeah.
wanting to
You
experience
know.
true love in the world, then we
Mm.
experience the true love with ourselves, with the loving ourselves unconditionally. And I will continuously say this on the shows, on probably every single show, because I think that this is really the root, right? Of the
It is.
almost like the heart, right? That palpitates and that keeps us alive is recognizing that once we're able to love ourselves unconditionally, without conditions, right? Then we're going to flow so much better in the world. And the world is going to feel so much better. And we're going to radiate that beautiful heart light out into the world, and others are going to radiate that forward as well because we can be those teachers, those mentors, right? That the energy flows outward and then others feel it because, one heart to another heart is the same heart, right? We're all like connected. Well, there are some people
Just
who don't
like all
believe
the
that.
aspens, all the aspen
Yes.
roots in the world are connected.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I'm going to say that what I do a lot of times too is checking in with myself throughout the day. I ask, how do I feel? What do I need in the moment? What am I grateful for today? Making sure that I use my practice of self care and self love to generate more good feeling moments in my life, right? These things
Yeah.
are important. If you go through the whole day, right, and you're just miserable, you're just really not having a good time. It's time to recognize that you have to shift that energy. What is it that you
That's
are
right.
so focused on and that you're believing that you're holding on to, that you're not wanting to release. It's not serving you. It's not helping you to grow or to expand. So let it go. Bring some light in. Focus
Yeah.
on all the good stuff, you know?
Let it go. I mean, like you said, literally breath is life. Without breath, without oxygen, we have no life here on earth. We don't.
Yeah.
And so literally you just a few times a day, take a nice, huge, big, deep breath into your belly. Make your belly as big as you can. I know we're all trying to suck in our bellies, but expand it. Big, 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 like Jupiter. Bigger and bigger and bigger. How big can you get that belly? Hold it, and then when you breathe it out, let everything go that you don't want. Just
And you don't have to define it. And this is the other
No.
thing. People
Just
sometimes
let
people
it
say,
go.
I don't even know what it is, and I don't know how.
You don't need to know.
No,
Whatever it is that needs to go, it go. But we breathe so shallow. When you take that deep breath, you really get, and then you get it out of you. It's just a real good
If
reset.
it's not serving you for your highest and greatest good, then you ask it to move out,
Exit.
right? It's okay.
Yep.
Right? And to always remember your rhythm, right? So, because this is important, because this is something that I focus on, whenever my rhythm is off, I know it because it presents in an energy of discomfort in my body. And I know that. I can
personally
feel it.
start getting like snippety, like even with myself, like, then I find like, oh, this isn't working, or this is in my way, or that isn't. When I start getting those irritated things, I'm like, oh, sweetheart, what happened?
Right, because
Did you
you're
need
hearing,
a snack,
right?
What
you're
happened?
connecting.
What is it you need that you're so, yeah.
Yeah, because you're connecting to your internal dialogue, which now becomes an external dialogue, right? And it's time to correct that, right? And in that moment, we can correct that. That's important.
Or nurture it. I mean, it's like correct is so, grade school ruler.
Yeah, that's
I go
true.
back to the nuns.
So that's not a good word.
But
Yes.
no, but like it's time to nurture it. It's time to address it. It's time to say, what do you need? I would be thrown in prison for the way I treated myself if I treated a 5-year-old that way. I would have been thrown in jail for child abuse. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Awareness is.
And that's the key, right? To be aware, right? Because even now, I just said something, and you corrected the correct. You said to me, correct is have, and I have to say this.
To correct you. I just meant to flip it.
Wait, but the important piece here is that I got it, because
That's right.
you were able to grab that word, and you were able to say, well, I feel this word like that. And then I was able to say, oh, thank you for catching that.
Wow.
Thank you for catching that. Because you see, what happens is when you did that, then I was able to shift that, and I was able to change that current and that feeling and put something else in place. And I think that that's part of the conversations that we should be having, right?
Yes,
With each other.
yes.
Where we're able to say, I said that word. I wouldn't be taking that as an insult or a criticism or anything. I'm taking that as okay. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that she caught that, because I didn't catch it. And normally or usually I catch myself. But I felt good when you did that, because you caught it as I put it out, which means that it got caught, and here I can pull it back, and I can say, clear that word up and create a new word, right? And that's important, right? So that we don't get stuck in the, oh my goodness, what did I do? I corrected her, or I said the word that, she said, and blah, 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 blah. And then now we're stuck in the muck again. So let's get out of that muck, and let's be able to say, thank you for that, sister, because I'm able, right, to be able to pull that out of the energy field, right, that it would be resonating and actually activated, right, in me, which is what I don't want, right? So thank you for that, because I think that that's a blessing.
You are welcome.
Right?
That's a whole lot of amazing Marilyn coming out. That's how Marilyn processes and does her work. And, I get to have even more amazing Marilyn than just on the radio, so I am so blessed. But it's true, we do that for each other. And those little light bulbs, because when you say control, I go back to like little Beth 8 years old with dyslexia, and she has a problem paying attention, and we need to control her, micromanage her. Everybody has different things, right? But when you say, like, oh, you transform that word, it becomes softer and more, right, compassionate or something. Some people might not be triggered by that word, but yeah, it's just,
Yeah, and
that's
I mean
that's exactly what we
yeah,
do.
yeah, and it's important for us to recognize what our trigger. You brought something up, and I don't know that we have enough time for this, so maybe we'll
No, we
make it a
don't.
topic, and maybe we can
Yeah.
make it a topic because you just brought something up to me that was like it's something that has been engaging me for a little bit,
Write
and
it
this
down
is
before you forget.
yeah, well, it's on video now. I mean, that's on tape, so it's okay.
Oh,
so
cool.
so it's about sometimes we hear certain statements or certain words, and then what happens is that like somebody can say to me, oh, I need to talk to you for a moment, or we need to, and I recognize that, and this is too deep a story for this needs to be for another day. But anyway, what happens is that statement for me, I recognized it. I never recognized it before, but that statement for me sends me. I mean, I take a out of body experience. I really do. I leave. I leave. I
Right.
leave. And somebody could be talking to me and giving me all this information, but I'm not. I'm just my body's there, but
You
I'm just not
checked
there
out.
because
You're
I
not
checked
there.
out, and it's because those words were used at a time when I got shocked and it was a traumatic experience for me. And when I hear that, I go right back into that space and I just take off. I can't hear you because and now that I recognize that, now that I found that those are trigger words for me, then I'm learning how to manage that and I'm learning how to stay put when somebody says those words to me because I'm more conscious and aware now of what my automatic response would be.
Yeah.
So my
You
automatic
know,
response would be leave now, now, now. You
right.
know?
Defense mechanism. For
Yes.
me, where I found that the most was how much I was using the word hate. I would go, "Oh, I hate that," or "Oh, I hate that show," and I was like, "What?" It
Yeah.
almost is like a curse word to me now. One that I do like some curse words, I will admit, but it was like not a pleasant curse word. It wasn't serving anything, and I was like, "Wow, this is just a habit," and I don't want to hate anything. I
Yeah.
don't want that in my. If I'm going to build the best dang karma I can, I don't
Yeah.
need the H word in any of it.
Yeah.
So
Hate is a very
that was
powerful word.
autocorrect. It is a
Right.
very powerful word,
Yeah.
and it is overused, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I know I did that for myself.
Yeah.
So that was my way of like kind of auto correcting myself and editing myself. Well, Marilyn, I mean, we've only got a few minutes left, but we definitely had a
Yeah.
good old time today. I personally am just so excited about this month ahead, and I am going to say there are going to be things that trip me up. There are things that
Yeah,
are
of
going to
course.
happen that I'm going to be, and
Yeah,
I'm
for
going to
all of
find my
us.
way out of that. And I'm going to find a way to nurture and be mindful and ask
Be
myself,
compassionate for
what do
self,
you
right?
need? What does your heart
Yeah.
need right now?
Yeah. And then give it to
That's my
yourself, right?
mindful goal for April,
Yeah.
right? Yes, to
Yeah.
give that to myself.
Yeah.
My
And I think
soulful, self-full journey.
yeah, and it's important for all of us, right? To be able to recognize that, yeah, we're gonna trip up, we are, and it's okay if we just continue to say it's okay. I'm learning. I am
That's right.
learning. It is
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
Love yourself. Be compassionate
I
to
am
yourself.
learning.
Honor your
Mhm.
life, right? Honor your
Mhm.
experiences. Honor your experiences because they have
Yes.
taught you what you know now that you didn't know before. So honor each and every experience that you have undergone, you know? because that's part of the journey that we have, is to be able to retrieve the medicine, to be able to say, wow, I got a teaching from this. And maybe,
That's
I
right.
may not have wanted it to be this way, but I recognize the teaching, right? We don't want to throw that teaching out because we
And
will
that's
have
why I'm one of
not
my
the best
greatest teachers.
experience.
One of my greatest teachers, Maya Angelou, one of the wisest things I learned was to be on my own side. She's always teaching me from the other side now. I love her. And I think
Yeah,
that's
I love her
important.
too.
You are the advocate. You are the leader. You are the trailblazer. You are holding the Olympic torch, lighting the way on your path. And
Yeah,
so deliberately take those steps. Be
yeah,
mindful. What do I want? What am I leaving behind in my dust?
yeah. And if anybody wants to reach us, they can reach me at
Oh,
universalsacredmedicine.com, or
and
the
they can
phone number
reach
that we
me.
give
Oh,
here every
yes.
Wednesday.
And you can reach me at angelwithanedge.com or Elizabeth Lindsay. And peace and blessings to you.
Blessings, love, and light, everybody.
See you in
Bye.
April.